All right, ladies and gentlemen, I'm your host, Chris Crenshaw, and we are live from the 704 once again for episode 234 of the 815 Exchange. And listen, all right, we got Champions League, we got college basketball, we've got Conference Championship Week in the NFL. Ladies and gentlemen, it is the last week of January, which means it is only a couple days away. The next time I see you for 815, it will actually be the day before my birthday. But it will be the best month of the year, and of course that is February. It is my month, okay? So yes, all right, happiness, you just glory, just everything is looking up. We had snow this week that actually stuck. However, I am tired of the cold weather, even though it's going to be warmer this week. Thank the Lord Jesus. So yes, all right, let's get into this. Oh, and we also got stuff to talk about in music because Cench'S dropped, but then Aitch responded. We'll talk about that then. As always, remember to like, share, and subscribe if you guys enjoying the content. And as always, everything you're looking for can be found in the description. Now, if you have stumbled upon this from Ocho Reacts, I did create a Patreon. All right, so some things from 815 may be going on, maybe some, bonus episodes of 815. I'm thinking, we had to create the Patreon because, videos were getting blocked thanks to the Blackpink girls expanding their, out to do their solo work. So the people were asking, so I had to do it. And you know what? I was probably going to have to do it at some point. So the Patreon is here. So yes, I will start linking that in. And yes, maybe even put some 815 stuff on there so you guys can check that out. And yeah, I think we've done all the housekeeping. I think we've cleaned the house. Let's talk about soccer. Yes, normally we call it Champions League, but I didn't want to just call it Champions League because we're going to talk about more than Champions League. But yes, all right, soccer, kicking us off. It feels like it's that time again, all right? It is that time again. But we are going to be talking about the not UCLA, but we're going to be talking about the UCL first, all right? PSG Man City going to kick us off. Of course, Man City has been in the dumps recently in the Prem. Would that form continue into the Champions League in a game that they needed to win to make sure that they were safe to at least make the playoff rounds? And listen, Jack Grealish finally scored twice in 2 weeks? I mean, when's the last time that happened for Grealish? Erling Haaland, the machine, is back. He scored. He also scored actually today, but scored in this game. Man City was up 2-0. It was looking like Pep's got these boys back. A lot of people maybe even calling for Pep's head. Is the time over? People were thinking, you know what, Man City is back. But then PSG, Paris Saint-Germain, said absolutely not. And they pull off the upset, scoring not 1, not 2, not 3, but 4 unanswered goals on Manchester City. They win this thing 4-2. Listen, Dembele kicked us off and it went from there. Barcola, João Neves. Listen, something cool about a player that chooses a unique number and is cold with it. João Neves, listen, he might be one of them ones. We'll see how he progresses at PSG, but this is a big step and a big game. He got that goal to ends up being the game winner here to make it 3-2, and then Goncalo puts it to bed in the 96th minute, I think, of stoppage time. So yes, PSG gets it done, pulls off the upset. Man City, now they did get a good win here on the weekend. But yeah, form has not been great. Continues in the Champions League. This very well may have kicked them out of potentially advancing, which would be an absolutely stunning way for a lot of people, including myself, that wasn't necessarily in favor of the Champions League changes, of how they're doing it with this massive table. But with the results we're getting and some of the chaos, we still have that magic, and we saw some of it here. So we will see. All right, we will see. Kylian Mbappe, I've said, listen, listen. Mbappe is the best player in the world. I haven't been able to say that for a long time, but this week I can say that. He scored in this game against Salzburg. I mean, an absolute must-win for Real Madrid. Now, of course, thankfully, Salzburg is at the bottom of the Champions League table as they've been eliminated, but still, nonetheless, it was a great game for Real Madrid. All right, they beat the brakes off of him 5-1. Roddy kicked us off. He had a beautiful brace. Vinny had 2 beautiful goals. And of course, like I said, Mbappe with, the keeper, just an absolute gaff. The effort play from Kylian. He gets it done. Then on the weekend, he gets his first ever hat-trick in the Liga. And now he's only 1 goal behind Lua for the Golden Boots in Spain. Y'all said he was washed. Y'all said my boy was washed. All right, and Jude was cooking up too. Beautiful assist in both of these games. So yeah, the big 4 cooking up for Real Madrid. That loss to Barca may have been just what this team needed. We will see though. Speaking of that Barcelona team, of course, it's still looking grim in the Liga, but in the Champions League, they're running the show. All right, now this was absolute chaos. Okay, Absolute chaos. I mentioned that Champions League magic earlier with PSG Man City. Yeah, it also happened here. Benfica was up 4-2 in the 78th minute of this game, and then all hell broke loose. I mean, Pavlidis had a hat trick in 30 minutes in this game. That's how good Benfica was for the first part of this game. But then the second half, it just, completely went to just chaotic. All right, the refs said, you know what? I don't know what a tackle is. I don't know what a yellow card is, and I certainly don't know what a red card is. Free for all. And that's what it became. Okay, because there were some shoddy calls, just all over the place. All over the place. It was, as a neutral, very entertaining. As a Barcelona fan, probably stressful than just pure glee. For Benfica, you probably wanted to chuck your TV out of whatever your home is. But nonetheless, Barcelona conjures some type of dark magic. Lua and Rafinha get it done. Rafinha with the game winner. Very, very late. I think the 96th minute as well. And Barcelona beats Benfica 5-4 from somehow, some way. Okay, that's the only way I can describe it. Absolute banger. But a controversial one. But, Champions League. Speaking about the women, we don't always do this, especially with the NWSL out of season. Naomi Girma, however, just broke the world record for the most expensive female footballer ever, as she's been transferred to Chelsea from the San Diego Wave of the NWSL. So yes, big move there. She's the first woman to ever break that 1 million marker. So yeah, well deserved for the best defender in the world, and maybe even the best player. Well, Aitch is still here, so I'll just say the best defender for now. But yeah, shout out to Naomi, holding it down for America. Gonna miss her in the NWSL. But with that type of money, that's game changing. All right, it's absolutely game changing. Let's talk about college basketball. We're playing basketball, and we were doing it in Winston-Salem this week. Okay, Duke is now about to do the North Carolina run. We had Wake Saturday. We got NC State when you're watching this on Monday, and then next Saturday we got Carolina. So it's going to get hectic, all right? It's about to get real hectic out here, all right? So how would Duke do? And listen, we lost to Wake last year. Wake is a very solid team, as we found out. I had a feeling, all right? I know we've been murking everybody. We have the highest margin of victory in the country, but I knew that this was going to be a tough game. Hunter Salas, Wake is a solid team, man. And they came out. Listen, defensively, you may have heard the rumors. They proved it in this game, okay? Tyrese Proctor nearly tried to shoot us out of this game. But thank God for our defense, and thank God for the main event, the main character. Leeson Al Flag once again proves why he is, I'm just going to say it, the best player in the country. All right, the number 1 overall pick, the best player in the country. I'm not going to call him generational, but he's so very close. Cooper Flag has restored the feeling. All right, he makes me believe. All right, I have so much trauma as a 20, soon to be 24-year-old sports fan that I carry, that my group chats always talk about, because I'm like, at this first sign of danger, I'm like, oh, yep, here we go again. But Cooper Flag makes me believe. When we gave up 21-4 run to start the second half and Wick was back in this game, who did we turn to and who made me believe? Cooper Flag. And I don't want to hear this whole, is Coop, good enough to be a 3-level scorer? If he's good enough to be the number 1 guy. Yes. If you've not been paying attention lately, the answer is yes. Yes. He can be that guy. He has answered that question. Can he score? Can he be the guy? He's had to be the guy while still doing everything else for this Duke team when it mattered, and he's come through every single time. Except for that one game. That was like the second game of the season. Alright? And he had a good performance in that game. But now, as he's gotten better over the course of the season, no telling. He had 24 in this game and carried us in that second half. Duke survives Wake Forest 63-56. And like I said, it's about to get grimy. NC State, North Carolina. Listen, I don't care what the records are. It's going to be interesting. All right, it's going to be very interesting. And if we shoot the way we did against Wake, it could get grimy out here. Auburn, Tennessee was grimy. 53-51. That's how you know. All right, that's how you know. However, Mr. Johnny Broome was back, and he had 16 and 13 off the bench to lift the number 1 Auburn Tigers to a victory, a big victory over the Tennessee Volunteers, who are cooling down. All right, they lost to a team we're about to talk about in the SEC last week. They lose it again here. So, yeah, they've kind of fallen off of, perennial top 5. They've kind of fallen off that step as of late. Of course, this is college basketball, the way of the world, not necessarily a panic button, but something Tennessee needs to think about because, as good as the SEC is this year, and I mean, it's amazing, you got to play better. You got to win these games. You want to be a championship contender. You want to win the tournaments. You want to go far. You got to win these games. And Tennessee has just not. All right, against these other great teams, they have not been able to do that. Broome coming back, of course, is huge. He was the National Player of the Year favorite for all. I mean, just for the country, not just for Auburn. Before that injury, now he's back. That makes that Auburn team truly the number one team in the country, even though, of course, you could say Duke beat them, and, of course, Duke's the number 2 team currently. But I don't want to hear it. Auburn, they got it right now. Tahad held it down. Now Broome's back. Rest assured. All right, and they're playing in the SEC, which, we haven't really been able to. We usually say it for college football, but now we say it for college basketball. Staying in that SEC, Kentucky has finally touched earth. Okay, they have touched earth. After going to the moon with Mark Pope and how great that started, they have come back down. All right, they are back mortal. And Vanderbilt is dangerous. Oh boy, is Vanderbilt dangerous. They better be ranked. As of today, I think the polls come out today or tomorrow. They better be ranked. I mean, listen, they better be ranked with what they did last week against Tennessee, this week against Kentucky. They should be ranked. Records there, resumes there. This is a tournament team and a very, very dangerous team. Vanderbilt gets the upset here, 74-69. That was very hilarious visual of all of those security and even the chancellor coming down and being like, Please don't storm the court. Like they were not going to most definitely storm the court. Vandy is racking up them fines, but if any SEC school can afford it, it's Vanderbilt. All right, Edwards had 18 to lead the way there. Otega away still continues to be a star for that UK team. He had 21 and 13, but it was not enough. Vandy gets the upset. They hot, all right? They hot right now. Let's talk about the women, though. Let's talk about my ladies. All right, South Carolina and LSU has become one of the perennial rivalries in all of women's basketball over the past couple of years. Really since Kim Mulkey came over and took over that team. Angel Reese came in. The great South Carolina teams with Aaliyah Boston, Camila Cordoso, Zia Cook, them clashing. It's become a marquee matchup. LSU was undefeated. Of course, South Carolina's only loss was to UCLA, I believe, who is the number 1 team in the country currently. So how would this go? All right, somebody's O had to go. I guess in this case it was LSU, considering South Carolina had won, so technically I can't say that. But nonetheless, all right, 2 top 5 teams. Somebody's got to fall. Can LSU still get it done with no Angel? And, they struggled even when they had Angel to beat South Carolina. But what would happen here, all right? Dawn Staley is still Dawn Staley. That's what happened. Dawn Staley is still Dawn Staley, an absolute defensive clinic from South Carolina. Once again, this team does not have the superstars or stars that they had in the past, but they are still a very deep team and a very, very well-coached team, obviously, with Dawn. And yeah, that's what happened here, man. They get it done 66-56. Joyce Edwards, the freshman, one of the top freshmen in the country, had 14 off the bench to lead the way. But the headliner here was they held LSU to 30% from the field and 21% from 3. The big 3, of course, for LSU. Flaw J. Johnson, Anissa Morrow, Michaela Williams. 17 for 54 in this game. Horrid. All right, horrid. We're locked up. Raven Johnson. I don't know if her offensive game is going to do much, for her draft prospectus when she decides to go to the W. But her defense has made waves. It's been her calling card. She has embraced it, and she's become one of the premier perimeter defenders in the country. Maybe you could just say defenders outright at this point. She did a great job in South Carolina. Like I said, did a great job stifling LSU's big 3. Now, of course, Morrow still became, second all-time, I think, in double-doubles, which is really cool considering the fact that she's a 4-year. She doesn't have an extra year, right? Anissa didn't take an extra year. This is in 4 years and became second all-time in double-doubles. So, yeah, really cool stuff from Anissa. But nonetheless, South Carolina rolls proves why they are still very much so a championship contender here in women's college basketball. Now, ladies and gentlemen, let's talk about entertainment. ENT. All right, entertainment, because we have some stuff to talk about. Specifically, again, we've been living overseas. All right, the Americans are sleeping. I don't know if it's because of the Grammys, which is coming up, I think, as well. Might be this week. Might be this week. I don't know if people are sleeping because of that and they just don't want to drop anything currently, but the Brits are holding it down. All right, the Brits are holding it down. And ladies and gentlemen, we have the first album of the year contender by way of Cench'S for 2025. All right, Can't Rush Greatness. Now listen, the singles in the build up to this were okay. All right, it was nothing too crazy. I was like, I'm very curious to see how this project is going to go. He saved his best for the project. He saved his. This was a project worth the hype that comes with Cench'S name. As I guess one of the probably maybe even the biggest or most well known, at least over here in the States, British rapper. You can argue maybe Skepta, Storms, Dave, but I think a lot of people would know Cench'S obviously off the popularity of Doja, him dating Madeline Argy and all that stuff. I think a lot of people would say Cench'S. So comes with a lot of hype. You got to deliver on that hype, and he came with it. All right, he came with the production. Now, lyricism. There's been a big discussion about Cench'S using some lines, Cench'S here and there. What is his true abilities as a lyricist? You know what? For the most part, he came through here as well. Came through on that part as well. So I am going to give Can't Rush Greatness by Cench'S a 9.4. Alright, it wasn't perfect, but it was great. This could be the best project that he ever drops, and I wouldn't be surprised. And it's his first. It's his first. That's sometimes how it is. But CRG is getting a 9.4 for me. This is going to be one of my favorite projects of the year. There's just so much good stuff. I mean, there is so much good stuff on this project. St. Patrick's and 10 Feet Skepta are my two standouts so far. Absolutely tremendous. Some probably going to be my favorite songs of the year. I was just blown away. I was really, really well and truly blown away at how good this project was. I was blown away. Because I didn't expect it. I truthfully did not expect it and did not know what to think about, what this was going to look like from Cench'S. And yeah, it came through. Of course, did the album reaction with Max. So yeah, it's just really cool stuff. Shout out to Cench'S. However, on 5-star, he said, he mentioned the Brits and how he didn't get the award and how it went to some guy named Aitch. So some guy named Aitch said a guy called and responded literally hours later. The next morning, which I don't know what it was in Britain, so it may have been the same day. He may have same day delivered this man on his album day. Okay? But it was the next morning for us, and Aitch drops a guy called and absolutely cooks Cench'S. Alright? I'm not gonna lie to you. It was a great diss track. Alright? It was a great response from Aitch. And a great way to say, listen, you wanna clash? We can clash. I don't know if you win in this though. I'm a better rapper than you. I don't know if you win in this. So, yeah, good from Aitch. Even Cench'S acknowledged it. We'll see if Cench'S responds. I would expect him to. I don't see why you wouldn't. I don't think Aitch is definitely big enough for him to, want to respond to. So, yeah, we'll see. But, maybe we're going to get the British, even though they're not on the level of Kenny or Drake. But, we can get the British version of Kendrick versus Drake for 2025. But yeah, Cench'S, Aitch, good stuff in the music scene by way of the Brits. All right, AFC Championship is concluded, so now we are here at the NFL. And well, listen, I could be humble, I could be real, real humble about this, real low key about this, but my Super Bowl prediction was right. I'm not gonna sit here and lie to you. My Super Bowl prediction was right. And unfortunately, as you're about to see, it's not the one that people wanted, but you know what? It's the one that was going to happen inevitably. So here we are, starting off with the NFC, Philadelphia, BTA. From the moment Saquon Barkley got the ball, we knew we just knew the direction this game was going to go. All right, Philadelphia breaks the championship game. All right, not Super Bowl, but championship game record for points, putting 55 on the Washington Commanders' head as they win the NFC Championship and advance to the Super Bowl, 55-23. Listen, I'ma say it. Saquon Barkley might just be the MVP. He might be the MVP. I know he didn't get the record, and I know it's a quarterback award, but Saquon Barkley might be the MVP. I'm gonna be honest. Even without it, even though it's a regular season, what he's done for this Eagles team, the level he's taken this Eagles team to. Now you might be like, Chris, they made the Super Bowl 2 years ago. But look how much better they are. Look how much better they are with Saquon as that focal point. And he was that guy. All right, even beyond that 60-yarder, he goes 118 in the hat trick, but he wasn't the only one. Ladies and gentlemen, Jalen Hurts also with the hat trick of rushing touchdowns. He had 246 yards passing as well, also had a passing touchdown, so he had a four-piece. Ladies and gentlemen, they had 229 yards rushing and 7 touchdowns total running the ball. Washington could do nothing. Could do nothing against the Philly run game, and they just, the one thing, everybody said it. I said it to my stepfather. The one thing Washington had to do was stop the run, and they just couldn't do it. Just could not do it. They were not ready for the bright lights of this NFC Championship game. They weren't. Jaden wasn't bad, but I don't even think he was ready necessarily. But them as a team, they weren't ready. The moment was too big for Washington. They weren't supposed to be here, and they looked like they weren't supposed to be here. Truthfully. And they got smoked. A.J. Brown, 696-1. Hell, the one positive spot I'll say for the Commanders was a former Eagles player. Zach Ertz had 11 receptions and 104 yards. He was the main guy for JD all game. But this game was all Eagles. All right, simply put, all Eagles. Saquon Barkley is a monster and, undisputably the best running back in the world. And maybe he should be I'm saying, guys, just maybe he should be the NFL MVP this year. I know he didn't get it, but he still ran for 2K. And look what he's done. Just saying. All right, I'm just saying. Hurts played a good game as well. Philly will be in the Super Bowl. And it will be a rematch because, ladies and gentlemen, Patrick Mahomes is now 4-0 against Josh Allen in the playoffs. Listen, and the funny thing is, you just some of us knew. Some of y'all still had hope. But it's the hope that kills you. It's always the hope that kills you. It was like to shout to the boy because I've seen this movie 100 times. I know where it's headed. Every time the Bills would come back and get a touchdown to take the lead or get the field goal to tie the game, right? Whatever it was, in that second half, I was like, oh, there's no reason to get excited. There's no reason to feel that is this going to be the one? Because it's not. It's not. It's not. The Bills were never beating the Chiefs. Not because it's rigged, because the Bills were just never beating the Chiefs. There was not a second did I think in that game where I thought, yeah, Josh Allen and co are about to pull this off. Nope. He had 237 and 2 touchdowns. James Cook had over 100 scrimmage yards and 2 touchdowns. Not for a half second did I think the Bills were actually going to win that game. I'm sorry. We've seen this movie so many times. In Arrowhead or wherever, the Chiefs were always going to come through and find a way to win that game, and that's what happened. That is what happened. They came through in the clutch. Pat made plays where they had to be done. He gets the go-ahead here, and the KC Chiefs are headed for the three-peat potentially here, 32-29 over Buffalo. Pat had 288 and 3 TDs. Xavier Worthy, not Travis Kelce. Kelce was pretty much null and void this entire game. But however, and honestly, I didn't say this for the Eagles. Quinyon Mitchell got the interception on Jaden Daniels. It was the rookies. It's those young guys that have been getting it done. Honestly, for both teams, stepping up here in the championship games. Worthy stepped up. He was that guy. He was that receiving target that, when Mahomes needed to get that ball off, he found X, and X got it done. 685. Not 685, but 6 receptions, 85 yards, and a touchdown for him in this game. And good stuff. Again, not, a defensive clinic here. Honestly, neither game was. Philly had its moments. But, not necessarily a defensive clinic, but a very, very good game. But let's be honest, we all knew how this was going to go. We knew how this was going to end. Chiefs, Eagles, I'm not surprised. However, I'm not saying who I picked to win the Super Bowl. I'm not doing it. There's a couple people. If you're in the pool with me, obviously you know who I picked. My best friend knows who I picked, but I'm not saying. Alright, I'm not saying who I picked. Hell, next week when I preview it, I'm not saying who I picked. I'm saving that for after the Super Bowl. I don't want to jinx anything because I have a lot of monetary value currently placed on me winning this playoff pool. So I'll leave it at that. Alright, I'll leave it at that. But yes, alright, Eagles, Chiefs, that's what we got. No surprises here. What did y'all expect? And with that said, ladies and gentlemen, we have reached the roundup. And listen, alright, we're going straight to tennis. We're not wasting no time. We're not wasting no time here. Okay? Australian Open. You want me to talk about it? I want to talk about it. Let's talk about it. Yannick Sinner, listen. I mean, we already kind of knew this. Now, we already knew this, so this is no surprise. But Sinner is that other. We were wondering who for a while. It was like, is Carlitos going to have a peer, or is he just going to rampage through the next generation? All right? Even though Novak continues to. And literally, Novak prevented Carlitos from being in this final just off of the back of he lost every last bit of power he had. I feel like Joker, he's still able, if he goes to his best level, he can still beat Carlos, as we've seen. But it takes something out of him. He leaves something on the court every time he faces Carlos now. It feels like that's the guy that pushes him to that level that he was pushed to when he faced Roger or Rafa or even Andy, who's now his coach. But it takes something away from him, right? As he had to retire from Zverev because his body just had nothing left. It feels like we're getting these classic matchups, and it's a 50-50 depending really on what court it is, who's going to win. But it's taking something out of Noel. And that opened the door for a new hardcourt king, and his name is Yannick Sinner. Okay? He dominated. Simply put, he absolutely dominated, beat Zverev in straight sets here to claim his second straight Australian Open title. And yeah, Sinner, right, straight to business. All right, like the Nike ad said, right back to business for him. Looks like he can make another run. And listen, maybe even. He's only one major title behind Carlitos. Now, of course, Carlitos has the advantage head to head, but listen, Sinner he's making a statement. And listen, I know everybody's got Carlitos tabbed as the one, but don't forget about me, all right? Because I'm here and I'm here to stay. So shout out to Sinner. He takes out Zverev in straights to win the second Australian Open of his career. However, Madison Keys made a legendary run through the Australian Open to win her first, not just Aussie Open, but her first major title ever. And it's well-deserved. Mads has put in the time. She went from hyped American contender to perennial contender, but just always the bridesmaid, right? Not quite. She's a Q5 qualifier, might make a semi here or there, but that's what Madison is. She's a good player, but she's not a great one. She was a great one in this tournament. She was an absolute great one in this tournament. Took out Iga Swiatek in the semi in incredible fashion, and then came through and knocked off Sabalenka. Beautiful stuff. All right, beautiful stuff. There is no better way, in my opinion, to win your best major than torpedoing the two best women's players in the world. What a statement from Mads. We'll see if she can keep the momentum, but what a moment for her career to win that first major in this way. So congratulations. She is your 2025 Women's Australian Open champion. Let's talk about Bellator, the last of Bellator before their merger into the PFL. Headlined by one, again, we're talking about the Nurmagomedov family. Yet again. Usman in this case, youngin, 27. I forget. I have the ages here. They're both very young. All right, they're 27 and 25. I don't know if Phil's 27 or Usman's 27, but they're both mid-20s, okay? And both have a very, very, very bright future. Of course, there was some slight hype because these two were kind of, butting heads a little bit in the build-up to this fight. But boy, this was probably the best outside of UFC fight we've had probably in a while, in a long time. I can't even remember, It was that good. It was that good. This was two of the best lightweights in the world. Regardless of what promotion they fight for, these two are two of the best lightweights and honestly the future of that division. They will be in the UFC in no time. All right? And I'm here for a rematch because it's well-deserved. That was a very razor-thin close fight. Usman got the win, but Hughes had a lot of success, and you can argue he maybe should have won that fight. So, Usman doesn't want to give it to him. He got invited to Dagestan by Khabib. He said yes, but first, your brother's going to have to run me that rematch. So, we will see what happens there. But, yeah, Phil Hughes, Usman, two to watch for, all right? Two to watch for going forward. And, ladies and gentlemen, let's conclude 234 with some hockey. All right, the Carolina Hurricanes with a blockbuster. Okay, an absolute blockbuster trade here as they get Mikko Rantanen. Yes. Mikko Rantanen and Taylor Hall have to give up Martin Necas, though. All right, they had to give Necas to the Avs. I believe who was Taylor with? I forgot. It was the third team in this trade. I want to say it was the Blackhawks. But nonetheless, they just kind of got some picks and I think some, lower tier roster players. But of course, the headliner here is Miko. All right. Giving up Nikas is a big blow, but yeah, it was still very, very shocking. Abs Miko is an essential, right? That was the big three right there. It was obviously Mac, Nathan McKinnon, Kale McCarr, and it was Miko Rantanen. That was the core. I mean, you have some other players, Eric Johnson, that you can include in that, Landy, so on and so forth. But Miko he was the third best player on that team. He's one of the best wingers, one of the best forwards in the NHL, seventh currently in points, I believe. For him to get traded, for them not be able to meet on that contract, meet on that number, it's a big blow. It's a big blow. Now, getting Nakis, somebody that's going to be there for the future, and maybe he can get to Rantanen's level, helps them out long term. But, losing Miko in the meantime is big. Getting Miko and Taylor is huge for the Hurricanes, who are trying to win now and really trying to get that Stanley Cup. Of course, as a Canes fan, I would love to see it. And you know what? Even though, I love Nakis, I do like this trade, and especially if we can get Miko long term and this is not a rental, I do like this trade. It's immediate upgrade, and the Nakis was great, but we already know Rantanen is great. It's better to have a great player now than a player that you don't know, will he be good or will he be great, right? So I'll take it. And I think the Avs, it could work out long term if Nakis hits his potential. But yeah, we will see. But yeah, blockbuster trade in the NHL, which is very much so heating up. And of course, we'll cover that more as we get closer and closer to playoff time. Same thing with the NBA, nothing too crazy. Wemby was in France. Holly went off in that game. And yeah, Rockets still pretty hot. JG had a bad run of games, but got back to business. Lakers have been up and down. Bronny went off in the G League. And yeah, I think that about covers it. So without further ado, for the last episode from January, Ocha signing off.